Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Black Business Spotlight. We have Fiyin Obayan here with us from Okiki Consulting. I would like to first acknowledge that although we are meeting digitally here today, I Black and Sask is based on the traditional lands referred as the Treaty 4 territory. The city of Regina is located on Treaty 4 territory, the original lands of the Cree, Ojibwe, Soto, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. Today, these lands continue to be a shared territory of many diverse peoples. It is essential that we recognize that we all benefit and have responsibilities under these agreements. As an organization, Black and Sask acknowledges the harms and injustices of the past and present. We dedicate our efforts to working together in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation as we are all treaty people. We respect and honor the treaties made on all territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past. We are committed to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous and First Nations people, as well as looking at ways we can do better and be better when it comes to our relationship as well. As you all probably know, we are Black and Sask, a youth-led nonprofit based within the province, dedicated towards contributing towards the holistic growth of the Black community. And part of one of our pillars is definitely making sure to connect our community to the broader community, to be able to share the experiences of leaders in our community, as well as trailblazers that are pioneering when it comes to different industries here. So I am so excited to be able to chat with Fiyin Obayan today, who is going to share a little bit of her entrepreneurship journey with all of y'all. So thank you so much for joining us here, Fiyin. I will pass it over to you to introduce yourself.
Thanks, and thanks, Dolapo. We go way back a bit, and I'm just excited to see her again on the chat because she inspires me a lot as well, and it's been cool following her journey, her travel journey, and all of her business adventures. Yeah, I'm honored to be on the platform today. I am the CEO of Okiki Consulting, and I started that business out of college. I just had a real fascination for social media at the time, and that was very new. It was barely taught in my marketing degree, so I think they had like one unit on it. And I was just like, no, I think this is really interesting. I think this is where the world is going. So you can imagine, for those of you watching, it's like 5 years ago. So social media was so different even then than it is now. But I just knew I was really interested in it. I was interested in something that was always developing, growing, changing. And yeah, I started this business with little to no experience, but just knew it was something I wanted to grow. It's been a really cool adventure because it forced me to learn a lot of skills.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I'm in a place where I'm actually like really niche down. And it took me a while to find that niche, to be honest, just because I wanted to try a lot of things. But I'm finally kind of in a zone where I really am focused on video content, filming video, editing video, coaching people on how to create content, and not just everything and anything like before. And I feel like it's a nice place to be. I really liking where it's going now and where it's growing in that direction.
No, we love to see it. We love to hear it. I think one of the things that I'm sure that you are well aware of is like the power of social media and the fact that it's becoming more and more a very necessary and intricate part of like marketing, whether you're a small business to like a larger company. What I want to hear from you, or that I'm really curious about, is how did you navigate that conversation with your parents? Right? I think coming from like an immigrant background, African background, like sharing with your parents that, you know what, I want to dedicate my time on pursuing a career or growing a business in marketing specifically with social media, a lot of times, our parents are like, why are you always on your phone? Why are you always pressing your phone? So just wanted to get like what that journey was like and how you were able to share your passion with your parents and how they received it.
Yeah. So the funny thing with me and my family is both my parents are physicians, so I couldn't be more different than which direction they went on. And I think they've known for a while. I was never quite interested in, like, for my culture, what would be the typical streams, like doctor,
Mm-hmm.
lawyer, engineer. It just didn't interest me, being in school that long, being at school working that hard for something that you couldn't really get passionate about. I just couldn't see myself engaging in that. So it actually took me a while to find what I wanted to do in school, to be completely honest. I didn't even want to go to university at first, and it was a lot of negotiation to get me there. I started like a music arts program, left for a couple
Nice.
of years, and went to musical theater school, and came back and did marketing because I wanted to use it to promote music. So I wasn't actually even
Mm.
initially looking at marketing for the sake of marketing. But what was cool is that marketing appealed to me because of the creativity and the strategy behind it. And then social media was another layer to that, where, yeah, you have to be creative to, create content. I mean, Exhibit A, let's look at TikTok today, right? A lot of
Yep.
people, some of it's silly, but some of it's really creative and really interesting. And it's basically the eye-catching stuff that, for, I guess, the typical kind of uh, business mindset, especially if it's an old school one and they're kind of like very, prudish about how they put themselves out there. And it's hard for them to adjust to that because that's a new layer of things, right? But for creatives, it's like now is like a time they can really thrive. So I kind of saw
Mm-hmm.
it as another avenue to put that creative energy into something. And so, yeah, I think because they already had the conversation with me about me not wanting to do medicine, they actually let me go to a theater school program, which was not even a degree in another province, which is like, maybe for some people watching is not a big deal, but from a Nigerian background, it was very different.
Mm-hmm.
And they were actually supporting it with money at the time too, which is crazy. I think by the time I said I was into this business, they're like, okay, yeah, let's support her. Because they already kind of knew I was gonna be on a different wavelength. Now, to be honest, right, the initial conversation, like I said, was more about medicine, and that was a tougher
Okay.
one. But I think once we got over that hump, everything else was just like, okay, well, what is she gonna actually do? Let's just support her in that. So, yeah, that was kind of the journey of that, to be honest, in terms of my parents. And it's actually my mom that really noticed I was entrepreneurial, because I just had so many ideas all the time. So she's like, I think you're an entrepreneur. I think that's how you think. And I was like, what's that? And like looking it up, and that was more towards grade 12ish. She was kind of sort of speaking into that. And so, yeah, and then now looking, I'm like, okay, yeah, I see what she's saying. Because it's not really
No.
something you go to school to become, right? It's more like something you
No.
experience and develop. So at first I was very
Exactly.
confused by the statement, but now I'm like, no, she's definitely right. That's definitely a part of who I am, for sure.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's been beautiful to even hear as you're sharing here today is to see you take that non-conventional and non-traditional route, right? Like in terms of like paving your own path and figuring out, for right now, I want to do musical theater and go to an art school to do that, to be able to develop that skills, and then moving over to studying marketing and then starting your own business. I think it's very powerful and empowering for other youth to be able to hear stories like yours, because it shows that there isn't one linear path to be successful, number one. And number two, as well, is just that there isn't one archetype as well, or archetype, when it comes to what success looks like for first generation immigrants in Canada or in Saskatchewan specifically, that it is possible to try those different avenues. So, really amazing that you were able to experience that, especially to be able to express your creative side, which is something that sometimes is per se not deemed as prestigious. And I guess to kind of lead into that, what advice would you have for let's say like your grade 12 self, that was still trying to navigate who and what you wanted to become, and having different options and knowing that you were good at numerous things, what advice would you give to someone at that position right now?
Right. I actually really love this question because I think later in life I began to have more of these conversations with my like parents, with like family friends. And something I think that isn't taught enough to people, to youth, is not just IQ, but EQ. So like those personality tests, like really knowing how you
Mm-hmm.
function, whether it's a Myers-Briggs, Strengths Finders, there's Berkman, there's so many. But I think it's really important to know, like, A, how you really function, how you think. Start to make a list of the things that you're really interested in and why they're interesting to you. And then really try and find the range because if you ask me today, like in grade 12, I didn't see marketing really even as a job option in the job fairs when they
Mm-hmm.
came to high school. It wasn't really brought up at all. But had someone told me about that then, I think even then I would have been able to recognize, I think that fits my personality because that's how I picked that.
Mm.
I looked at my personality first and then thought, is that a degree that matches me? And that was, I think, what made me a little different in terms of like some of my peers is that I wasn't gonna fit myself into something I knew I wouldn't be into. I had to like find the other way around. But a lot of people can't do that until they really find themselves. And like I remember in high school, I had to take like all the math and all the sciences, right? Because it was preparing for, those main kind of degrees. But the whole
Yeah.
time I remember I took extra classes online just so that I could have space to take a photography class or a graphic design
Mm.
because I had to take those classes like my at the time, right? My family wanted me to take those. But I knew I liked these more. And the irony is, fast forward, I do photography and graphic design in my business today. So at the time, it seemed like, oh, this is just a fun class she's taking. And now
Mm-hmm.
it's like stuff people are actually paying me to do, right? So it's like just to not underestimate some of those things you're interested in. Like it might, like the value might not be seen then. And it's seen now, even now, there's more demand for social media now than when I graduated, right?
Exactly.
Companies hiring for that, for example. Whereas before it was kind of like, oh, this is optional. With the pandemic, okay, we need a presence, right? Things shifted. And so I think just pay real close attention to like what makes you tick, what do you enjoy, what are the avenues and opportunities within that, right? There's some things that, yes, it might
Mm-hmm.
be harder to monetize, but there's some things where it's like, is that an actual skill? Because at the end of the day, a lot of the times parents just want you to do good. Like they just want your
Yeah.
future to be secure. And a lot of it has to do with money. But if it's
Yeah.
money, right? It's like, no, I wouldn't tell my kid to be a doctor today. If they just want money, I'd be like, learn something with software and coding, because that's an infinite thing.
Exactly.
There's so
Mm-hmm.
many jobs there. So if it's just about the money, there's a lot of options. It doesn't have to be those options. Now, to all the people who do want to do doctor, lawyer, engineer, that's a valuable thing. And again, if that's you and that's how you tick, go for it. But if it's not you, you're not failing in anything. I think just to start to pay
Exactly.
more attention to yourself and figure out, why am I not drawn to that? And who do I want to be? Because the truth is, there's a lot of arenas and opportunities for you to be successful in.
It is. And I think one of the things that's like very, I don't want to say magical, but interesting about life is that one experience or something that you learn out of interest, it will always be applicable in the future. Like as you were mentioning, right? Like when you were taking graphic design or videography in high school, right? Now it's what people are paying you for as like a skill and something that is necessary for businesses to thrive. And I really loved your advice on, making sure to kind of do an assessment of like what makes you tick as an individual in terms of like being yourself, because I think there's a lot of flow that comes from that in terms of like the amount of work and energy that comes out of it and the quality of your work, right? Which then leads to people wanting to pay you more money for the things that you're really good at. If we were to shift gears and look at your entrepreneurship journey specifically,
Mhm.
would love to dive more of what that looked like. I know a lot of people say entrepreneurship is not easy, but highly rewarding. What has your experience been like?
No, exactly that. I think, again, I think, and your listeners probably get this in a few conversations. I'm kind of someone who's like very like, this is where, this is where I feel my passion is going. I'm just gonna jump into it, and the logic kind of follows after. So what I will say is that, yeah, it is a journey for sure, in the sense like, um okay, there's two sides to it, right? There's a thing you actually want to do. Actually, I should say there's three sides. There's a thing you actually want to
Mm-hmm.
do, so you're honing your craft. There's letting people know and trying to find which avenues, like, do I let people know that I have this offering, and let them know that I'm someone they can come to for it. And then there's all the technical behind the scenes of it, right? Because
Yeah.
the thing with entrepreneurship is it looks very glamorous, and it certainly can be once it gets to a level where it takes off. But again, in running your own business, you also need that foundation, right? You
Mm-hmm.
need your foundation of systems, of how you're booking those meetings, how you're taking care of your billings. You have to pay your business tax versus your normal tax. So I think just having a holistic view of what it actually means. Essentially, being a business owner, I've learned, is being a project manager. It means
Mm.
being someone who really listens to your clients. So you're ready to adapt. So it's like, if something isn't clicking, it may not be that you're doing something wrong. It just might be like, really listen to the clients and like, what are they saying they need the most, and trying to find if that need is something that still fits with you, of course, because you
Okay.
don't want to do something you don't want to do, because then again, you might as well do a job if you're not in your lane of what you want to do, right? And if it is, then go towards it, because every business has had to pivot and change and adapt, right? So just being ready for that. So being ready for getting organized, your project management, changing and adapting, and then growing yourself and growing your skills. Initially, it can feel lonely in the sense that the first couple years, right? Because like most of my friends
Yeah.
getting jobs, I still did internships in between because I was trying to hone my skills. But if you're an entrepreneur, it's a different headspace than someone who's just going to work. And I don't mean that in a hierarchy way of like, you're better or they're better. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
different mindset, right? For those reasons I
Yeah.
brought it. Entrepreneurs usually have to be very self-managing, self-motivated. There's a lot of that. And you have to pay extra attention to your support system as an entrepreneur, because you're putting in so much into this baby, right? That you're trying to grow.
Yeah.
Make sure you have that community, whether it's mentors, whether it's coaches. I have a business coach, I have a leadership coach, and then finding a community of other people in the similar space as you, so they can support you too. I'm a member of the Well, which is a great entrepreneur community for women in the city. I'm also a member of West, where that's where my business coach is from. And both have really helped me grow, especially this year. That's when I really got
Mm.
more to the community aspect of it. And not just in my work, but actually finding other people in the space, and really gleaning from those resources. And the crazy part is, in developing those friendships, they send you work too. So it just ends up multiplying itself. So yeah, that's one thing I will say, is that it's been a journey of like trying to figure out how to run it, then trying to figure out what I need to support myself in it, because you're putting,
Mm.
so take care, make sure you have your community, watch for your mental health and all that. And then, yeah, and then continue to build in yourself, find time to thrive, have those mentors and those leaders helping you assess your journey along the way. That's what I've learned. And it took me time to build those pieces. I started out more with myself and then added on as I went along,
I
realizing
see.
my personal need for it. So
Wow. I think one of the things that I consistently hear as well in this conversation is the importance of that community and additional support as well. And you mentioned having a leadership coach and a business coach as well. I guess for people that are listening in or are going to listen in the future, what are some examples of resources you've tapped into in the province that has been very pivotal in you growing your business?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I'd say this last year's definitely been major growth, even though it was the pandemic. It kind of was very insular, so that's when I joined WESC, for example. WESC has a lot of resources, by the way. So, but one of the things I've valued, well, I've done a few things with WESC. They have a cohort program too that I've done, which is amazing. But the reason for the ladies on this call, I'm bringing that up. I think there is a guy membership actually, but anyways, but it's focused on entrepreneur women. And the reason I bring that up is that it comes with the business coaching. So they have a business coach that's actually dedicated to, you can book times with them and just ask them advice. And the fee is really like, I think for students, it's like something like 45 a year. For
Oh wow.
visitors, it's like 150 a year. And then they have all these events in between where they have speakers talking about their journeys and all that. And they actually
Yeah.
have like coffee meetups. So that's a really easy one to join that already has resources online to get you started, because their whole thing is to, move you forward. Outside of WESC, I believe there are other business associations. Now, their prices vary, but definitely to
Yeah.
join one so that you can really, again, grow yourself, meet people, and get those resources. This might sound really funny, but there are tons of stuff on YouTube. Legit. Like if you want to find some, and if I had to bring up one person that has like literally like 1 hour, 2 hour live streams on things,
Yeah.
Paul Carrick Brunson.
Okay.
Or you can look him up as Better with Paul. If you find him on YouTube or LinkedIn, he literally brings on people, and he used to have these like 1 hour, 1 hour and a half live streams on all the platforms where he was just interviewing people in different fields, and it's quite powerful. And Black people specifically. Like this is an African American guy
Okay.
actually.
Amazing. And you
Um,
said it's called Better with Paul?
yeah, or
Okay.
Paul Carrick Bronson. Yeah, super influential to me. That individual. Learned so much from his live streams, honestly. Um, Another thing that you guys are students, I think some of the listeners, I hope I'm saying the right demographic, but if you are, please take advantage of LinkedIn Learning, sincerely. There's a lot of courses on there as well. So again, if there's an area trying to build yourself, and the fact that your college is giving you free access to any of those
Mhm.
resources, any free stuff you see at the U of S portal, use it. I definitely did. As an alumnus, I used a lot of those courses, got certificates, published them on my LinkedIn profile. So literally try and glean from as many of those sources now. And now knowledge is really its own thing. There's Skillshare, there's a
Yeah.
lot of platforms for that. So sincerely, any skill you're trying to learn. And I'm not joking. Some of my videography stuff that I've learned the most from, I found it on YouTube, and I literally searched videos, and there's people with hour-long videos where they studied like every flash you could use, every lens, showed you what it looked like. Some people have taken the time, right, to do that homework ahead. So just find those people, whether it's through a paid resource or whether it's through a non-paid resource, and continue to grow your knowledge so that you become more and more expert. And of course, practice. Sorry, to your question again, practice is a huge one. Before I graduated, I was already volunteering for organizations so I could practice social media. I said, hey, this is what I want to
Mm,
do. Can I do yours? I'm not an expert in it yet, but I will volunteer and I'll manage your social media. And they're like,
nice.
yeah, sure. And just
That's
gain
like
that
learning
practice,
for free.
right? And like, just take any opportunity to do that, because people need volunteers and you need the experience. So it's a win-win situation. So definitely, whatever it is you want to do, try and find those volunteer opportunities, because again, it's another way of growth. And again, volunteering can't be underestimated. Some of the things I learned in
Mhm.
those roles, I'm using them today. So for sure.
Yeah, nothing learned ever goes to waste, as the popular saying goes. You touched on WESC and like Women Entrepreneurs of Saskatchewan. I know that there are a number of other agencies also available, whether it's in Saskatoon, Regina, and provincial wide. If I was to kind of look at it on the other side as well, there's a lot of data that's come out in North America generally, and like pop culture, when it comes to the experiences of Black entrepreneurs, and like the challenges that they face when it comes to building their business and having the support that they need as well, not like to start, to grow, and to scale the business. If throughout your experiences, what is one thing that you think organizations can do to better support Black entrepreneurs like yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it feels funny to bring up that organization again, but that's a big part of it is like when I say like I was meeting with my coach almost twice a month during the whole year. And it was like talking about like everything, like what's your strategy, what's your plan, where are you going, what are you adding? It got very intensive. So I think what can organizations do? Well, I see it like two ways. I see it that there are organizations that have resources that maybe are untapped. That's what I realized this year.
Mm,
Another free resource to I actually I forgot this one. This one's a really good one. And it's not just women. It's called Square One in Saskatoon. And they are amazing for like getting started. So when I was getting started, I literally had no clue what I was doing, what I needed to sign up for, what licenses I needed. And that's literally what they're for. It's Square One. They they are mandated to give that information for free. It's like a government run organization. So you can email them, you can call them, they'll just give you advice. And if you want to book with one of their advisors, it's free. So you can book as many times with them. If you want that extra layer of a lawyer or an accountant, it's like a lowered fee
yeah.
of like $20. And then that's another layer. But you can meet
Hmm.
with them, you can book with their advisors. They have like 3 there. And you can ask them, they can send you documents for different things. So I guess that's the first part. Look for organizations that already have resources because a lot of them are really excited and keen to help. And they might be looking for you too, especially during this time. Um, and they're like, sadly, I don't know anyone in those categories, and you can like pitch yourself. On the flip side, yeah, telling organizations how they can help you. I know Black in Sask is doing a lot of great things. I also volunteer with a nonprofit that works with Black professionals in the city, and some of it is even outreach. Sometimes I message companies and say, hey, we're doing this thing. This is our target audience. This is what we're focused on. Would you like to sponsor us? Would you like to bring a speaker? Would you like to show up in any way? And just giving them the awareness. So I guess on a personal level, if it's you, pitching yourself to companies too, pitching your skills, right? And
Hmm.
putting yourself out there because you might be surprised. And that goes for not only job seeking, even mentorship seeking. You might be surprised that if you message a CEO or message a manager, they
Yep.
might actually be willing to take you under their wing. You might be surprised that they would actually. There's a lot more people, I think. There's people who, are, of course, we know there are people who don't want to help, but there are a lot of people who do and genuinely
I agree.
just don't know how to find you. So I think we're kind of in a time now where at least putting yourself out there is like answering a question for them as well and opening that door where they're like, thank you, you know. I know I
Yeah.
did get scouted by certain companies during this time because they were trying to find Black leadership in the city and they were trying to sponsor something around that, right? And my name came up in that, right? So it's like sometimes it's like just a matchmaking situation.
Exactly. But you already
For
have to
sure.
put yourself out there for it to work as well. And I think you said something really important that I that during my experience has been the same too. When it comes to like Saskatchewan, generally in the business space, entrepreneurship space, I find that people are very open to having conversations, meeting for
Yeah.
coffee. Took so much advantage of that when I was in my undergrad as well, to reach out to people, to just try and understand what the different career paths are, and see what they do on a daily basis to see, okay, does this fit what I want to do and grow into? So I definitely think that's something that is underutilized, and just want to harp on what you said and encourage people out there to, like, don't be afraid to just message someone for a virtual coffee for like 30 minutes to learn a little bit more about what they do, or to just even get feedback on a business idea that you might have. It's something very plausible. To put you on the spot then, and what do you envision for your business in the next 10 years? If someone was to speak to you on your growth trajectory, what is that looking like for you?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because some people may not know this call, but I actually do a podcast, and I'm always asking this question, and it hasn't been asked to me directly, so it's kind of funny. Yeah. Okay. So this might sound really out there, but I'm kind of challenging myself the next 10 years to like really build up the skill, really build up in teaching on this skill, being able to offer teaching in an online way. Um,
Mm.
so that I would love to have an online platform around what I do. And I would also like to be able to offer videography services in a travel way, because I would love to,
Ooh.
if I was to say my dream in 10 years, I would love to do some digital nomad stuff, to be honest with you all. I think it's just another uh, extension of creativity to see, and I already love traveling, but being able to document some of those things, I think it would be really fun to do. So that's definitely something to build up towards, but if I was doing that in 10 years, I'd definitely be pumped about it.
No, I highly recommend 10 out of 10. Being a digital nomad is amazing. I've just tried it out myself this past 3 months. So I'm excited for you and seeing how your consulting company continues to grow. As we are ending up and wrapping up here, would love for you to share with like the audience in terms of like where they can reach you and what services you can provide for them.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm wondering if I should put this in the comments. But anyways, you can reach me at okikiconsulting.com. That's OKIKI. And what I offer currently is videography services, video coaching. So if you're trying to be a content creator and you're like, how do I plan my content? How do I strategize it? I do coaching sessions on that too with entrepreneurs. And I also offer video editing services. So I have a few clients right now who want regular videos for YouTube and different things. And I kind of take care of the creative and how it's put together. So anything around that, I am here for you. And I am excited to help people to really share their stories and their brands through video.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. And y'all have heard it. If you need any video editing needs, whether it's for a small business you have, a salon, a bakery, whatever your niche is, please reach out to Fiyin at Okiki Consulting. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming to share your journey with us, as well as providing really good actionable tips that people can hopefully take advantage of. So thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Dolapo. It's always great to connect with you and see what you're up to as well. So definitely follow her as well, because she's always doing very inspirational things. So for sure.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
For sure. See you.
Bye.